Hi, this is Marina from Darkstar Astrology, and as promised, I'm going to do this narcissistic special, and it's going to be quite difficult for me to do, really, because it is so personal. All right, okay, so we'll start with my chart, shall we, and see if we can see where the mother is in the chart, because normally what I look for when I'm looking at a client's chart is, either the moon. Now, the moon in my case is on the midheaven, and I remember going to see an astrologer, and she and also because it's conjunct Venus as well, and you would think that's a really lovely relationship, really. And she said, "Oh, are you close to your mum?" And I went, "Not really." But the closeness, I suppose, could be defined as her seeing herself in me. She keeps going on about how I look like her now because of the blonde hair, and not being enmeshed, maybe. So maybe that's the closeness you could see. But the thing is, Venus is retrograde, and when I was younger, I did feel ugly. I felt very ugly. And she was continually telling me that, don't worry, when you're older, you can get a nose job, because I got quite a big conch. And because she had one when she was younger, she had a really big one, and she had 2 nose jobs. Now she's got a nice little turned up one. My sister's got a naturally lovely little turned up nose. And so, the golden child didn't need any correction by surgery. So anyway, so there's the Venus retrograde, feeling unattractive, and actually Venus retrograde is a lot like Lilith, really. It is the black sheep. So maybe, Venus retrograde conjunct the moon, maybe it is describing the relationship with my mother. I thought maybe Ceres was more accurate for it, because it is an Aries and my mother is an Aries. But again, Ceres is in quite a nice minor grand trine, and it's in a nice sextile to the sun. So again, quite an okay relationship. It doesn't, just by looking at those, you wouldn't think they were, using conventional astrology, you'd probably think it was okay. But yeah, if you dig deeper, Venus retrograde is not really great. And then now thinking about it, looking at the fixed star, the moon is on fixed star Armus, which is the nagging star, and it's really critical. My mum used to criticize me all the time. So that's the voice in my head that's always saying, you're not good enough, you're ugly, you're the bad one, you're the black sheep, blah, blah, blah. So the fixed star goes. Then also the fact that it's conjunct the midheaven. It is interesting, though. I've become an astrologer, and one of the main things, I guess, the themes is this whole setting up boundaries. I'm very Saturnian. You can see everything's ruled by Saturn. Saturn is my strongest planet as well. And a lot of my politics is about setting up boundaries. A lot of my psychology, it's affected everything. So in a way, moon on the midheaven, it's describing the roots of my wounded healer traits, and they come from the moon. So and then Lilith Mars, there's the little black sheep as well, and it's all in the 9th house. And guess what I did as soon as I could was leave home. I didn't leave home very early, because I left home as soon as I could go to college, basically, because I didn't have the money. But long distance marriages, I wonder why that was. And one, you couldn't get more further away, could you? One was Australia. I never ended up living there, but I think partly in the psyche, part of the attraction was, I can just escape to the other side of the world. And also whenever I used to go and visit, I'd have like 2 months of bliss of not being able to be in contact. I was incontactable from my mother, so she couldn't ring me every Sunday and drain me. I mean, this is what it ended up being, was the phone calls I had to stop, and I've gone no contact now. But it's taken years to do this because I felt so bad. I thought I must be such an awful person to not want to speak to my mother when she so clearly wants to speak to me every week. But it wasn't to speak to me. She didn't ever really want to know what I was doing. She'd ask me, and then I'd start to reply, and then she started talking about herself. So it was just for an audience, and also to, now I know a bit more, but I don't want to go into it too much, but more to sort of set up me and my sister. I found out later, when she talks to my sister, she just talks about me. And when she talks to me, she just talks about my sister. So she's playing us up against the other and sitting there kind of enjoying the responses that we give through prodding this kind of competitiveness between us. So anyway, so yeah. So there's my chart. But also another thing that's indicates the mother is the 10th house, and guess what's in there? Saturn, and Saturn rules everything again. Bloody hell, there's no getting away from it, is it? But the thing is, I really like my Saturn, and maybe this tough upbringing, I guess, I sort of call it a Spartan upbringing, because it has made me tough and strong, and and it's helped me develop quite a good immunity now. The thing is, it's taken so bloody long. And yeah, Saturn gets better as you get older, but it does make me sad in a way that I didn't know about this earlier. I just wish I had, because it would have changed a lot of relationships. It would have changed a lot of things that I did and I regret now. But now I know better. And now I can teach my daughter, hopefully, not to, the buck stops here. No more of this family curse is going to be passed on, because it goes back to my grandma. And maybe I think later on, because I know this is going to go on, it's already 8 minutes, I haven't even got to the other charts yet. I know this is going to probably end up being a series, and I'm just going to go back in time to ancestral healing as well. So we'll do that too. But yeah, so that Saturn is square my ascendant. But even more exactly square my ascendant is the Pluto-Uranus conjunction of that generation. Very explosive in the house of the home. And it was like basically living in a war zone. You never knew when there was going to be an explosion. But my mum and dad were arguing all the time. They're both Aries. So that was the environment I grew up in. And you'll see when you see my sister's chart, it's the complete reverse. So it's really uncanny. But those two are exactly square the ascendant. So it's obviously, again, I was crucified by my upbringing. But again, it sort of makes me the wounded healer too. So it's a double-edged sword. Chiron isn't in there, but Chiron is actually at 18 degrees Pisces. So, which is the astrologer too. So it's kind of made me what I am too. So you can't complain really. What makes me brave, I guess, is the Jupiter conjunct the ascendant, and it's square Mars, Lilith. So that gives me the fighting spirit. And I think that's what turned me into the scapegoat, because I did recognize at some point there's something really wrong with this family. And I rebelled by being a complete goth as well, turning up to family christenings with, spiky black hair. And I had crucifixes in my ear, but the right way up. But they were, black ones. And then I have a yod, which is kind of the Mercury in the 8th house, exposing the taboo. And that's my mission in life, really. So, all right, let's get on to another chart. So let's look at my sister now. Look at that. Now she's a yod, but you can see she's the complete opposite, because she's got the sun exactly conjunct her midheaven. So she's the shining solar goddess. She's Apollo, whereas I'm Dionysus here, in the moon. And her ascendant is completely opposite mine. Sag, not exact, but near enough. I mean, come on. Now, where's her moon? Her moon in Taurus. I know we'll see when we look at my mum's. My mum's got a hell of a lot of planets in Taurus. And her moon is kind of widely opposed to Venus. Mine's conjunct Venus, hers is opposed. What else have we got? Her yod is pointing to Saturn in the house of children. Now, she doesn't have any children. And I do wonder if that's as a result of her upbringing and my mother, because I nearly didn't have a child because I thought I'd be such an awful mother that I just didn't want to pass it on. So I wonder whether partly my sister didn't have any for that reason. She says she doesn't, she was afraid of it ruining her relationship, really. So that's her reason. And also she saw me, you see, I had my daughter and then 3 years later I split up from her dad. So maybe she saw that as being a bit of a warning as well. So if we've looked at the moon, now the house of the mother for her, actually, she doesn't have Uranus conjunct Pluto, her generation. It's moved into Libra by then. But she's got, in the house of the mother, she's got some anger there, it's Mars, but then also she's got Pluto and Jupiter, which is the millionaires aspect. And I'm wondering about inheritance as well. I mean, she's always had sort of more monetary rewards from my mother. And we won't go into that, but she has. And then her fourth house is completely empty. So the parents, but then Jupiter is up there with Pluto as well. So there is some Pluto stuff in, buried. Interesting that she's got Lilith on her descendant, because I never really thought, why she got that there? I don't see her as a particularly Lilithy person. But there are things, I suppose I can't really talk about them because it would be, but there are things in her past maybe that are quite Lilithy to do with partners, but not her current partner, I would imagine. But maybe it is to do with not having kids, because Lilith isn't a natural mother. So maybe she married someone who also didn't really want kids either. Her Ceres, if we think of Ceres as being the mother as well, is conjunct Neptune. And often the golden child is the one that's seen as being most like the mother as well. And that's very much in enmeshment as well. And her Venus is also in the 12th. So there's stuff that's more kind of hidden with my sister that she doesn't sort of wear on her sleeve, really, that you can't really see. I think that she sort of said to me, why do you let it get to you, when my mum criticizes me? But I think I actually share more personal stuff, or have done in the past, because I'm a bit like that, I sort of open up and I share things, and then it's used against me. Whereas I think my sister's learned to keep her love life private. I don't think she shares stuff with my mother at all. Because I know my mum said, she might like talking about her sex life. No, why should she? God. So so she's kept that under covers from her, even though my mum used to sort of try and get more information of that, which is just boundary dissolving, really. She used to look in our diaries as well and read mine. But anyway, so that's my sister. So let's have a look at my mum's chart now. Okay. God, I've never really looked at it properly, or analysed it. So yes, you could see, all right, Moon on Antares. So that could be describing her mother. Now, my grandmother was a really formidable woman. She was very, very strong. She was Maltese. She emigrated to England at 18 and she started working straight away. She always worked. And she made a lot of money. From housing, and was a landlady. And they had nothing when they came to England. And she was working in a hat shop. She was very good at sewing, And I was scared of her as well, but she looked after us a lot when we were little. So it could be describing my grandma, but it does describe my mum because she is very explosive and, and also very jealous. So the heart of the Scorpion on her moon, that's her. Now Mars on Algol. She always had a very big head, like in hair. Like she had big bouffant hair. First in the 60s, it was the big beehive. But then in the 70s, she had the Farrah Fawcett. So she had really big blonde flicks. And I used to say she was like she was taking off. And I used to tease her about that. She didn't like that. But it just used to make me laugh because whoo, big wing hair. So that's kind of Algol. Not snakes, but wings. So yeah, that's her Mars. And that's conjunct the South Node. So the South Node is also there. So there's ancestral wounds as well that have been passed down. So another thing I noticed with my mum, she's got this T-square and it's Jupiter in the 8th house, which is inheritance. And there were some issues with inheritance because She got a lot of money off my grandma because my grandma was very well off, and when my mum married my dad, he really wasn't. He was from Sicily, he had no money, and he was constantly trying to sort of get money out of my grandma to help finance businesses for his brothers and sisters as well. My uncle, who I was really, really close to. He was 15 years younger than my mother. He was gay. He was almost like a older brother, but later on he was like a mother and father to me too, because he was the only one that was really concerned about me at college, and he used to ring me up every Sunday. And anyway, I was really close to my uncle. So when he died, he knew he was going to die because he had AIDS, and he knew he was going to. So he said to me, my sister, look, I'm going to leave you the flat because your mum and dad, they're just going to spend all their money and they're not going to leave you anything. So somebody has to think of you two. And so he left it to us. And my mum really resented that. She said, that should have gone to me. And I just thought, what, for you to give to another guy? Because my mum and dad divorced, and she used to buy younger men, basically. Anyway, so that Jupiter in the 8th, I think, is issues with inheritance. But she's got the path of fortune there as well. So the path of fortune, she did get money. She always had money, but she just didn't know how to save it. She just used to think for the day and never think for the future and just splash it out. My dad was the same. He used to gamble. So that's the T-square, and that's connected with her nose. And she's got, it's funny because I've got Jupiter trine Mars. She's got Jupiter square Mars. So, and that's connected with her South Node. So there's some karmic issues there with money. And now she says, oh, I'm so broke and I probably had to learn a lesson with money. Yeah, I guess so. And now it says that she's got Sirius rising, but I really don't know about the accuracy of the time. She says 10 a.m., but we don't know. So it might not be Sirius rising. But I wouldn't be surprised. She does shine very brightly. You can't miss her. She's very bling. So those are the charts. Now, what I wanted to have a look at was, what makes someone more suited to be the golden child, and who's more suited to be the scapegoat. But I wonder if it's to do, you can kind of see, obviously, with me and my sister, she's so solar and I'm so lunar. But what is it in the bi-wheels? Is there a better synastry between them? So let's have a look at my mum. Hang on, let's do me and my mum first in the bi-wheel. Now this is all my Aquarius stellium is in her 8th house of the taboo. So I just project back her shadow, don't I? Oh God. And so, it's like looking in a mirror. And she sort of say, oh, you're so like me. But so like you in, you know, I've made mistakes in the past with men and going for sort of I've never gone for rich guys in the past. And so what did I do? You know, I married a Sicilian as well. He wasn't as broke as my dad, and but when he came to England, he didn't have any money either. But we were more on equal terms because I wasn't a raving. Well, my mum wasn't a millionaire, but they were very well off. They were very well off, and me, I just had the flat that my uncle gave me, so that made me at least have a home over a roof over my head. But the disparity between my mum and my dad was insane. It was just too different. Whereas me and my daughter's dad, it was a lot more equal, and his family were quite well off for Sicilians. You know, it wasn't anything like the difference. So anyway, so yeah, you could see. Oh yeah, now my Mars Lilith on her path of fortune. I don't know whether that's just rubbing in the kind of, where did my inheritance go? God. Yeah, so that my stellium's there, and now this is the one that made me think, oh, I remember looking at this before, was my Ceres, you know, I'm the little innocent Persephone, is on her Eris, and Eris is more, it can be the kind of Lilithy, malefic side of Ceres, you know, the evil stepmother. Kind of, she felt like a stepmother more than a real mother, to be honest. And then you can see my Eris is on her Saturn as well. So there you go. Oh golly, I didn't know my Sedna was on her Sun. That's betrayal. And my Pluto Uranus is on her Neptune, which is also betrayal as well, and lies. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Her moon is quite close to my south node as well, so maybe she's been my daughter at some point, or I've been her mother in another life. So this is definitely some kind of karmic thing. Her Pluto is opposite my Sun, so yeah, yeah. Well, self-explanatory, really. Now, what about my sister? Now, yeah, see, I had a feeling this was the case because my sister's moon is in Taurus and my mum's got so many planets in Taurus. They get on okay, you know. My grandmother was also Taurus, so the three of them actually used to gang up against me all the time and say I was just like my father, and you know. And look where all my sister's planets are, all in her fourth house. So she's much more at home with my mum than I am. Self-explanatory. Now, the enmeshment is interesting. Because my sister's Ceres Neptune is close to my mum's north node. So with me, it's my south node with my mum's moon, whereas with my sister it's her Ceres with my mum's north node. So it's interesting because they're both about mothers, or being a mother, or that it's still the Persephone kind of theme, but the other way around. So yeah, my Ceres is on my mum's Eris. My sister's Eris is on my mum's Ceres. How weird. Okay. And then my sister's Sun and Midheaven and IC are opposite my mum's. Yeah, her IC is on my mum's Ceres as well. So the Ceres is the engulfing mother, and she's much more. She said, my mum once said that my sister was like her right arm. So she definitely sees her as an extension of her, but her good side. So that's what it is, isn't it? My mum's the extension of her bad side, the side she hates about herself, and my sister is her idealized self. That's how it works. Yee. Also, yeah, so my sister's moon is close to my mum's Venus as well. and Mercury. They've got the same sense of humor. They do have quite a wacky sense of humor as well. So they can have a good laugh. But my sister says she can only do that when she's drunk. So they like to have a drink. And my mum always used to say, why aren't you drinking? If I wasn't drinking enough, she would feel a bit uncomfortable. So I think, whereas my sister really likes to have a good drink with my mum. But I can't handle too much, don't get me wrong. I do like a glass of wine, but I've got a daughter, so I can't really, do that so much. Now, this is interesting. My sister's Mars is on my mum's IC. So I'm not sure what that means, really. I mean, maybe at some point she will break away. But there's a connection. There's some buried anger there. And my sister does suffer from acid reflux, and I get it as well. But my sister has it a lot worse, so she has to take medication for it. So there's something that she can't stomach about my mum, but she does it anyway. She just says she couldn't live with the guilt, but she didn't have it as she didn't have this sort of constant criticism that I had, and the favoritism was very marked when we were younger. But I won't go into that too much. We want to keep to the astrology, don't we? So that's it really. I know what I wanted to look at as well was the Davison charts. Let's see if we can get any more out of this, any more juice. So, and I've not looked at these ever. So this is going to be a bit of an eye-opener. So who's first? Okay, let's have a look at mine and my mum's Davison first. Okay, Ascendant Acrox, which is the crucifix, and Mimosa, which is very psychic. So there is a kind of psychic bond, and this is what used to freak me out sometimes, because she'd be saying stuff. She'd be, saying words coming out of my mouth, how much she loved me, and doing all the hoovering, and I do love you, and da-da-da. But I used to feel really uncomfortable with it, because I used to feel like, no, she doesn't mean it. And I used to think, I must be mad. I must be bloody mad, because I'm feeling sick to my stomach when she says things to me. And so maybe that's the psychic connection, that I could feel stuff. And what I was feeling was incongruous with the words and what she was saying and sort of doing. So that used to really freak me out. Moon Uranus is in Cancer, though. That's the funny thing. So it's it should have been, again, it just gives power to the moon, though. It means that the moon is really strong, and the bond could be very strong. Whether it's a positive bond or a negative, I don't know, but it's a bond and it's strong. But Uranus there is trauma. It is, and it's trauma. And the moon is square Saturn. Again, self-explanatory. The moon is on Sirius as well. God. So there's that Sirius. But it's Isis too. The archetype of Isis is wanting to fix people and put them back together again. I did write this long letter to my mum when I first realised that I wanted to go no contact, which was a year and a half ago. And I just said, look, I just want to switch off the nagging, really, and the criticism for a while, just because I was getting really, my health was suffering. I was having these digestive problems, and IBS and everything like that. So I thought, I wonder if she stresses me out. She makes me anxious to ring her. So maybe I should just quieten it down. And I wrote her this long letter saying, you used to get that from your mother. I think maybe my uncle was a bit of the golden child, because he was a boy and he was younger, and I don't know. So my mum got all the criticism as well. My grandmother was very critical of her. So I said, it's happened to you, and maybe you don't realize it, but you're doing, and I don't like it. But she didn't accept it then. That was the weird thing. She took it as an insult and a criticism of her mental health. So I kind of tried then. So the Sirius rising, there is a need to fix. And also, it's funny that the sun in this chart is on my Saturn, and that's Akanar, which is success in ecclesiastical matters. So being a kind of priestess role. My mum is quite psychic, and she used to always go to tarot readers and psychics as well. And if she'd maybe looked at herself a bit more or tried to heal herself from her own upbringing, maybe she could have been doing what I'm doing, So it's kind of weird. It is weird. Yeah, Mars square Venus. Mars is rising. There was a lot of arguments, a lot of big rows, criticism, pain, hurt. Pluto opposite Venus, again, same thing. Persephone. The midheaven is Alphard, which is the Hydra, which is the poisonous speech of the water snake. Again, criticism. And that's it, really. But there is a grand trine in there. The sun, the sun, moon, and Mars. So, yeah, out of that can be healing as well, I guess. So, yeah, just before we go into my sisters, I just noticed, guess what? Ceres and Eris are conjunct on the Davidson in a star in Aries. Where are they? No, Algenib. Algenib is Pegasus, which is reaching for the stars. And she did used to go to an astrologer as well. Again, that's the positives from it. But it's also very much the Persephone situation, and the fact that we both went to the underworld of Sicily, where Ceres originates from, and I think it was an attempt to get a real family, because it was from Sicily that I learned how to be a mother, really. And they're very close-knit, and my aunties love them so much. That's interesting, yeah. Ceres and Eris together. And, also, Lilith is on Pollux, the evil twin. So there you go. All right, let's have a look at my sister and my mother. The one big standout is this square. And it's Sun Mars. Oh, yeah, that's intense. Sun Mars Uranus, and Mars and Uranus together is also trauma. In the 5th house of children, that's where it's affected my sister. It's really sad, actually. And it's square Saturn and Neptune in the 8th house of the taboo. So, and it's also Moon Pluto conjunction as well. So, you know what? I don't envy my sister being the golden child, because I wouldn't like to have that much intensity and closeness, because that's too overpowering. You know what's really weird as well is the moon on this star, the star that the moon is on is actually Marina, but the reason it's on Marina is because my ex-husband, the astrologer, he bought me a star for my birthday, so you can put it in solar fire and it comes up. So the Marina star it's in the Great Bear, so it's a kind of maternal star anyway, and it comes up as the moon in my mum and my sister's Davidson. That's just ironic. And also, I did look after my sister a lot when we were younger. Like, being the older one, she's 3 years younger than me. When we used to go to the beach in Rimini on holidays, I was probably about, God, probably about 8, and she was about 5. So it was my duty to look after her on the beach. My mum would be off, gallivanting with her friends. They're all drinking and having picnics and stuff, so they didn't have to watch the kids because I was looking after my sister. And the thing is, I was only 8 and I wanted to go off and play as well. And a lot of the time, my sister would just run off. And so many times she got lost on the beach. But in Rimini, in Italy, they have like people find them and then take them to a station there where they make an announcement saying, if your child is safety point or something, come and collect her. And that would happen all the time. And guess who got the blame? Me, because I wasn't looking after her. So yeah, the mother. I'm sort of the mother there, the substitute mother. But that's interesting. That's really interesting. I hadn't seen this before. But now Mercury's on Precipe, which is the spirit of the ancestors. So that's figuring into it. But I just can't get over that little learning triangle there. It's very, very intense. Very intense. But it all centers on children and the fact that they're all in Cancer as well. So God, mother issues and difficulties loving being a mother with the Saturn square and Neptune square as well. Unbelievable. All right, I think that's enough. Because that's maybe quite emotional now, and actually Lilith is still on the descendant there as well with the vertex. So the loss of children and the loss of childhood as well, the loss of the innocence of childhood. The sun is also on Castor and Pollux, the good twin and the bad twin, but it's in between. It's in between. So sometimes my sister can be the bad twin. Sometimes she has been, but mainly it's the golden child. So yeah, if you want to see more of these, God, I don't know if I want to do any more of these. Let me know, and maybe I'll just talk about. I might go. An idea for another video would be to look at my grandmother's chart, because I have that too. I have even the times as well, because in Malta, I got the birth certificates from Malta and they kept a record of the time. And I've also got my great-grandmother as well, who died in childbirth, having my grandmother. So that may also reveal the roots of this, the ancestral wound that is obviously coming through. And then we can maybe look at me and my daughter's chart, because that's the happy ending. I'm so close to my daughter. I love her to bits. And oh my God, I'm so glad I had her, because I almost didn't, because I was too scared that I'd be a terrible mother. So I've just noticed that Pluto on the chart is also on Marina too. So here I am being Pluto and going into the underworld, into the murky depths of my ancestry. So I hope it helps some people. And if it does, let me know and I'll do some more. Oh, all right. All the best. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.